Hi everybody, and welcome to week 4 of our course. This week we are going to get into, I guess, what some might regard, in fact, as sort of the genesis of American history, in that this is where you really begin to see the development of what would become the United States, right? So far we've sort of been looking at the colonial era, beginning with the colonization and going through some of the early developments of that, and also looking at some of the tensions that built up over time during the colonial era. But at this point in history, right around 1760s, 1770s, that's when you begin to see those tensions begin to boil over. And so this week we're going to be looking at the American Revolution. And there are 2 lectures for this week, and they're going to be focusing on some of our early documents. I think it's really important to assess some of our primary sources to sort of glean a sense of what was being thought about at the time. And I think that these documents really reflect what some people thought and some of the tensions that existed. So, for example, one of the things that we will talk about this week is the Articles of Confederation versus the Constitution. There was a debate that broke out once the Articles of Confederation were to be done away with and a Constitution was to be written, and there was a debate between a group of people known as the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists over whether or not the Constitution that we currently now have gave too much power and authority to the government. Under the previous Articles of Confederation, which we'll talk about in more detail this week in the lecture, that tended to give a very weak centralized government. And so when you look at the documents themselves, you can really begin to see some of the ideas that many Americans at the time had and get a sense of the overall period. So we're going to be talking about these various documents. There's a film that you're going to be watching which will talk about the American Revolution itself. We're going to be doing less of a military history than, say, a social cultural history and economic history. But there are some couple key battles that you'll want to be aware of. One, obviously, the Battle of Yorktown, which was actually the final battle, the one that caused the British to ultimately surrender in 1783. But the other one that you want to know occurred in 1777, and this was the Battle of Saratoga, which in many respects shifted the war to a degree because it brought the French in as an ally to the United States, to the Americans. And they badly needed the French because the Americans had no navy. So I don't want to get into a long lecture here. Of course, that's what this week is for. But that's kind of where we're aiming for this week, and just give you a sense of how the nation began and the struggles it had to endure. The other thing that I want you to be thinking about, and please contact me as soon as you can, is to be thinking about what subjects or topics you'd like to do for your first PowerPoint presentation that is coming up soon. So by the end of the week, let me know what you're thinking. The directions for that assignment are located in your syllabus, which is located in course information. So that's pretty much what I have for you this week. Otherwise, if you have questions or concerns, contact me and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, go in peace, be warm and filled, may the force be with you, live long and prosper, and may the odds forever be in your favor. All right, guys, be blessed.